Good morning to you, Alastair, and thank you so much for your company. So what do you make of this resignation then? It's being supported by Nicola Sturgeon, who says it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one. This is a leadership election for the next First Minister that's been mired in controversy really from the start. Mr Murrell's resignation is the icing on the very bad cake. His decision to resign, coming from pressure from the national executive, is to do with the membership numbers of the party. Now, there's been a 30,000 odd drop over the last 2 years. That's a staggering for a party that's been boasting that they've got over 100,000, claiming to be one of the largest political parties ever. It's not looking too good. Murrell's going is essentially a confirmation that not only are times changing, but the SNP as we know it and as a fighting election machine is having to answer some very difficult questions, chief of all to its own members. If they are deserting in such numbers, the next question for the next First Minister is how do you give the public confidence that not only are you the leader to solve Scotland's myriad of problems at the moment, but you're the one to lead Scotland to independence? It's a tough time for the SNP.
Yeah, we're in the midst of a financial crisis, though, and people have to pay for their membership. It doesn't mean people aren't going to vote for the SNP.
No, absolutely. But you have to understand that in Scotland, the SNP has become something of a myth machine. They are the front face of the Yes campaign. So much of the language around independence that the SNP are the ones to lead the way. The policy debates in Scotland are framed, and much to the frustration of people who want to see improvements in things like health and education, is that the way to do that is to continue to vote the SNP in. The SNP are the ones to deliver independence eventually. How they do that has become the question mark of Nicola Sturgeon's final months in office, but membership has largely been the way to do that. This is a reputation problem as well. If you start seeing that the business is not doing particularly well, it's very unlikely that you're going to get new investors into it. They're going to struggle to explain to the public, who are teetering on the knife edge of supporting, yes, the polls alter and oscillate quite wildly on the issue of Scottish independence, depending on who you ask and when you ask. It's extremely unlikely that they're going to appeal more broadly if there's a reputational risk. Compounded with that is that you've got a new First Minister coming in. Of the three candidates that are on offer, you've got two who have questioned the legitimacy of the process, the election process altogether, Ash Regan and Kate Forbes, and you've got Humza Yousaf, who's played up already being a continuity candidate for Nicola Sturgeon. All three of them have tough questions to answer because all three of them have been in government. All three of them have gone out and sold the SNP as the vehicle and vessel to get independence. Now it turns out that the ship's not so good. That's a tough situation for them to get themselves out of. And as I say, it's just the chief executive resigning is really a confirmation of what a lot of people suspected for a while, that all is not too well. And Sturgeon's resignation is just revealing that. It's fracturing it very badly for them.
Is this the case of Peter Murrell jumping before he was pushed?
I think so, yes. I think there's been a tough situation with the membership statistics. That's very much behind this. Now, you've got the chief of comms who's also resigned. You've got Murray Foote who's stepped aside because he felt that he was being briefed with incorrect information on membership figures. I think Mr Murrell going when he's going is very much a case of trying to save some face. Nicola Sturgeon then coming out saying she supported decision is a curious one, particularly given that they're husband and wife, but nevertheless, that's what she's done. It's a question of damage control now. It's fortunate for the party that he's had the presence of mind to try and damage control this as much as possible. It'll be very interesting to see how this is spun in the subsequent weeks and the final weeks of the leadership campaign. But yes, it's very much he would have been pushed.
But you see, within all of this, there are then these questions that are being raised, as you say, by two of the candidates, sort of saying, well, is this leadership election actually proving to be free and fair and unbiased and all the rest of it? So I mean, this may not be the end of the problems for the SNP. If Humza Yousaf is elected as the leader and subsequently First Minister, and the other two candidates kick up a stink about how the contest was held, well, it sounds like the whole leadership battle for the Conservatives, doesn't it, becoming increasingly bitter and problematic for the government?
That's absolutely correct. The biggest annoyance to the SNP is that the parallels to the Conservative Party are there to see, particularly with the length of time that they've been in power. When you start talking about things like Peter Murrell's been chief executive for 20 years, that is your generation. That is a chunk of time. You can't just undo that legacy overnight. The three candidates who are coming in, Humza Yousaf is the current health minister. There's issues there. Kate Forbes is proving to be quite a controversial candidate. She's worked in finance, and Ash Reagan resigned over the gender recognition reform stuff. All of this is to say that they have a tough time trying to separate their new government, whoever it may be, from the means by which they've been elected. You've already got members of their own party saying that the accusation that the leadership election is not fair or there's any doubt on it is Trumpian. Now, that's a shocking allegation from a party that's in government and is looking to hold to get a new First Minister. There's not much positivity there. You have a remarkable situation with the team of Peter Murrell and Nicola Sturgeon, where because they are one package, it really is the end of an era. And I hate cliches like that, but it is true. What the issue is as well is that there's no real angle for who's going to replace that. It's very easy to dismiss Mr. Murrell. It's very easy for Nicola Sturgeon to resign. But what the problem that the candidates are having, the leadership candidates are having, is they don't quite have call it the gravitas. And they've not demonstrated that yet, and they've got controversial histories in their respective government portfolios, that these issues are not going to go away just because they've been elevated leader of the SNP and First Minister. It's going to be a very tough sell in the Scottish Parliament and to the Scottish people.